Picture this. You're walking through your backyard on a warm summer evening, and suddenly you spot a thin, curved shape lying in the grass just a few feet away. And before your brain even processes what it's looking at, your heart is already pounding, your muscles have tensed, and you've jumped back 3 feet. And yet that same afternoon, you climbed into a 2-ton machine capable of hurtling down the highway at 70 miles an hour, surrounded by other 2-ton machines doing the exact same thing, and you felt nothing. No fear, no racing heart, just Spotify and a coffee in the cup holder. And here's the unsettling truth hiding underneath that ordinary moment. Cars kill roughly 40,000 Americans every single year, while snakes, even including every venomous species combined, are responsible for somewhere between 5 and 10 deaths annually in the entire United States, which means you are literally thousands of times more likely to die on the way to buy milk than you are to be killed by a snake. So why does your brain treat the snake like a 5-alarm emergency and the car like a Tuesday? And the answer to that question takes us back roughly 60 million years. Long before humans existed, long before primates as we know them existed, to a world where our tiny, shrew-like mammalian ancestors were scurrying through the undergrowth trying not to become dinner. And one of the most persistent, most dangerous predators in that world was the snake. Silent, camouflaged, capable of striking from nowhere with venom that could kill in minutes. And researchers like neuroscientist Lynn Isbell have proposed something called the snake detection theory, which argues that snakes were such a consistent and lethal threat to early primates that they actually shaped the evolution of primate vision itself. That our ancestors, who could spot a coiled shape in the leaves a split second faster than their cousins, were the ones who survived to pass on their genes. And generation after generation, over millions of years, that hypersensitivity to snake-like shapes got wired deeper and deeper into the brain until it became automatic, instinctive, something you don't have to learn. And this isn't just a nice theory either, because scientists have actually tested it in the lab, showing images of snakes, spiders, flowers, and mushrooms to both adult humans and even to infants who have never encountered a real snake in their lives. And the results are strikingly consistent. People detect snake images faster than any other image, even when the snake is hidden among dozens of other pictures. And babies as young as 6 months old show measurable stress responses, dilated pupils, increased attention when shown snake images compared to non-threatening ones, which strongly suggests this fear isn't something we pick up from movies or campfire stories. It's something closer to a factory setting, a piece of ancient software still running quietly in the back of your brain, specifically in a region called the amygdala, which acts like your body's smoke detector, constantly scanning for danger and triggering the fight or flight response before your conscious mind even catches up. And here's the key detail that explains the whole car versus snake mystery. The amygdala didn't evolve to respond to statistics. It evolved to respond to a very specific, narrow list of ancestral threats. Things like snakes, spiders, heights, and the dark, threats that were common and deadly for millions of years of human and pre-human history, but cars have only existed for about 130 years, which sounds like a long time until you realize that human evolution operates on a timescale of hundreds of thousands, even millions of years. So from your amygdala's perspective, the car is basically brand new. It hasn't had nearly enough time to get coded into our instinctive threat detection system, and that's why psychologists distinguish between what's called prepared fears and unprepared fears, prepared fears being the ones evolution built into us in advance, like snakes, spiders, and predators with sharp teeth, and unprepared fears being the ones we'd have to consciously learn through experience or reasoning, like the fear of texting while driving or running a red light. And this gap between instinctive fear and rational danger shows up everywhere once you start looking for it. Think about how many people have a genuine phobia of flying despite commercial aviation being one of the statistically safest ways to travel ever invented, with your odds of dying in a plane crash sitting at roughly 1 in 11 million, while your odds of dying in a car crash over your lifetime are closer to 1 in 93. And yet white-knuckle turbulence terrifies people who calmly merge onto the freeway without a second thought. And psychologists point to a few overlapping reasons why our brains get this so backwards. The first being control. When you're driving, your brain tricks you into feeling like you're in charge, like your skill and attention are keeping you safe even though you have zero control control over the drunk driver running the red light 2 blocks away. But when you're a passenger on a plane or standing near a snake, you have no control at all, and loss of control amplifies fear even when the actual danger is lower. The second reason is familiarity. You drive almost every day, so your brain has essentially normalized the risk through repeated exposure. The same psychological process that lets soldiers eventually sleep through artillery fire nearby. Repetition dulls the alarm bells, but you might encounter a snake once every few years, or never, so there's no repeated exposure to desensitize that instinctive spike. The third reason is vividness, and how our brains calculate risk in the first place, using something psychologists call the availability heuristic, which basically means we judge how dangerous something is based on how easily we can recall an example of it happening, not based on actual statistics, and a slithering snake with fangs and venom is a vivid, visceral, easy to imagine danger, while a car crash, statistically horrifying as it is, often looks in our minds like a distant, abstract headline rather than a lived, visceral threat, unless you've personally experienced or witnessed one. And the fourth reason is dread, meaning some dangers just feel worse even when they're less likely. Death by snakebite feels sudden, alien, almost violating, entering your body like something out of a nightmare. While car accidents, even though they're frequently violent and sudden too, get mentally filed under ordinary life risk, similar to how people fear shark attacks far more than they fear drowning in a swimming pool, even though pools kill vastly more people every year. Because sharks feel exotic and monstrous, while pools feel mundane and familiar. And once you understand these four ingredients, ancient evolutionary wiring, the illusion of control, lack of exposure, and vividness of imagination, you start to see that human fear was never designed to accurately map onto modern risk. It was designed for survival in a world of thickets and predators, not interstates and traffic apps. Which raises an interesting practical question. Should we try to override these instincts? And the honest answer is complicated, because on one hand, that flinch response to a snake-like shape has genuinely kept humans alive for millions of years, and still serves a purpose in places where venomous snakes remain a real threat. So there's no need to consciously fight it, but on the other hand, understanding that our fear of cars is dangerously underweighted has real life-saving implications. Because if your gut feeling tells you driving is basically safe while flying is scary, or that checking a text message for 2 seconds at a red light is no big deal, that mismatch between instinct and actual statistics can lead to genuinely reckless behavior. Texting while driving, skipping a seatbelt, driving tired, all of which kill far more people every year than any wild animal ever could. So the real lesson here isn't to start being scared of your car, it's to recognize that your gut feelings about danger, however strong and convincing they feel in the moment, were built for a different world, and that recognizing the gap between instinct and evidence is actually one of the most powerful tools we have for staying safe today. So the next time your heart jumps at the sight of a garden hose you mistook for a snake, you can appreciate that reflex for the incredible piece of evolutionary engineering it is. Millions of years in the making, running silently in your brain right now, just like it did in the brain of some tiny, terrified mammal 60 million years ago. But also remind yourself, gently, that the true test of survival in the modern world isn't whether you can spot a snake in the grass, it's whether you'll put your phone down, buckle your seatbelt, and respect the machine that statistically matters far more than anything hiding in the bushes ever will.